Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, in a very crowded space, the banking community, there is one bank that is really making some noise right now. It's Great Plains Bank. We're going to be speaking to the Southlake Market President next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, on this show, we love to feature disruptors, people who are making a difference in their community. And I can't think of a better person to talk about that today than Janice Spooner. She is the Southlake Market President for Great Plains Bank. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Absolutely. Well, we've actually, our paths crossed some 20 years ago, and
Yes.
I was out there promoting my book, and you told me you still have one of the original copies.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's wonderful how life brings people back together, and Janice is about to start a show in our Southlake location, so welcome to the Real News family.
Thank you. I'm very excited.
Thank you. Well, I want my audience to know more about you. You've been in banking now most of your adult life.
Yes.
All right, how did it begin?
Honestly, I got a job as a receptionist at a mortgage company in Fort Worth and worked my way through the ranks there, and then got into commercial lending, worked my way through the ranks there also. I'm a bit of a unicorn because I can do both mortgage and commercial lending, and now am Southlake Market President for Great Plains Bank. Great Plains acquired Providence Bank of Texas in December of 22. So it's bigger and better, and we're moving forward.
Tell us more about the company. For the people who are not familiar with Great Plains Bank, they've been around for a while.
Yes, over 100 years. The genesis for Great Plains Bank is actually in Oklahoma, and it spans border to border of the state across. We now have 4 branches in Texas, a direct line from North Fort Worth Alliance to Frisco.
Yes.
So we're growing and continuing to grow in our presence.
And Southlake is a great location. I mean, you think about the movers and shakers in the Metroplex, and there's a lot of growth in Southlake. Talk about the responsibility of being the market president.
You know, it's really a joy to be there. I've been in this particular location now almost 12 years. So I have seen Southlake grow tremendously and have been a part of the civic organizations. The city worked hand in hand with the city for some of the projects that they have there. It's just a thriving community and town. We've had great leadership with the city of Southlake. Shauna Yelverton, the city manager, retired and had her reception last night after 30 years of service.
Wow.
So it's an incredible community and continuing to grow with a very diverse population, schools, top notch. So it's a great place to be.
Cool. We want to show some pictures and remind us where it's located.
We are right on East Southlake Boulevard, 325 East Southlake Boulevard.
Sure.
Everyone, like I said, has historically known this as Providence Bank of Texas, but Great Plains Bank acquired us December of 22. And so now, as you see, it says Great Plains Bank on the front. And we're actually starting renovation on the complete inside tonight.
No kidding.
So demo starts tonight. And we are completely changing and preparing for the next 20 years.
Wow. Well, give us a sneak peek. What do you plan to do with the interior?
It's going to be very modern, blues and grays and whites, state-of-the-art coffee bar, really where they can come and sit and talk to a person across the desk.
Yes.
In this age of big banks, you just don't have that because they're so large, they can't offer that. But with us at Great Plains Bank, people literally love to come in and sit down across the bank. Even during the pandemic, they would call and just say, I just need to talk to you, just to talk to you. This is a lonely world. So I've had surgeons call and just say, just talk to me.
Wow.
Tell me what's happening, what's going on, what do we need to do to prepare for the future? And that's what we do.
Sure. And I know a lot of big banks are trying to play small and pretend to be a community bank, and it's just hard to replicate what you have, and especially with your longevity in Southlake. Your customers become your friends, don't they?
Yes. Oh, they all have my cell phone. I've had one text me at 4 a.m. that their car was broken into and their debit card was stolen, and please help, make sure nothing gets taken. To yesterday, a customer called and one of my employees stayed after hours to help them track down some checks. And he gave a big shout out on LinkedIn and on Google reviews about my employee. He's not a poster or anything like that, but really she went above and beyond. But that's who we are with my staff. It matters. It's not a second thought. That's just who we are.
Let's drill down a little deeper on that. So what kind of people do you attract when you're in the interview process? What kinds of questions are you asking, or what qualities are you looking for?
It's really about passion and heart. Most people can learn banking. I am very particular. I mentor and help learn and teach and grow. I make sure my team is equipped. These have been very challenging the past few years, right? And so while rates are still high, they're going to come down later this year, most likely. Inflation's not going to go in the night without a fight. But the team that I have, it matters who they care about, what their focus is, what they're listening for. And we talk about that on the weekly, making sure you're listening for what our customers need and what they're saying.
Sure. And I know during the pandemic, so many businesses applied for PPP.
Yes.
And being small and nimble and being able to help customers where some of the big banks weren't able to do that.
Right.
So
we got a lot of calls from customers who the big banks couldn't help. No fault, it was just too massive, right? And so they called us, or the local chambers. I reached out to all the local chambers and just said, if you need help, we're here to serve. Now, we saved over 1,700 jobs and small businesses across the Metroplex.
Wow.
And so it took a lot of work from the entire team, entire staff. We worked around the clock, literally. I'd be talking to my team at 1 and 2 in the morning. My husband would come in and say, what in the world are you doing?
Yes.
And we're saving small businesses.
Well, let's look into your crystal ball and talk about the outlook for the rest of the year, because we had the challenge of the pandemic. And then the media, if you listen to the media, they're telling you, oh, we're almost going to go into a recession. Now it looks like the Fed might be lowering rates, which is always good for the economy. So what do you see in your crystal ball?
There are a lot of varying opinions about how many rate reductions, how far they will retract, and how quickly. I do believe it's going to be slow. They need to be very mindful that we don't have this happen again. So they're going to be slow. It's going to be later this year, maybe third quarter, to really start that reduction. And of course, there's always the caveat, unless something else big happens again. But the CPI numbers in January, they just weren't where they needed to be.
Sure.
And so they're not going to go easy.
Sure.
They're going to be careful and mindful about the reductions.
And when the media talks about the economy, I think they're most of the time talking about the national economy. They're not talking about DFW. So
Right.
I joke with friends who don't live in Dallas. A Dallas recession is, instead of getting a car every 2 years, you stretch it out to every 3 years. What have you discovered just being in Northeast Tarrant County? We're fairly recession-proof, aren't we?
We're insulated from that, quite honestly. You need to be, and the population at large needs to understand what they see in the news is national, right? So DFW, we have been somewhat insulated from, not completely. There are still issues and there are still vacancies. And so being mindful, making sure that you've got the wherewithal to withstand, because there are still unintended consequences that happened because of the pandemic, because non-owner occupied tenants, right? They needed to make sure, those landlords needed to make sure their property stayed leased.
Yes.
So, one thing that's going to happen in 2024 is a lot of banks did balloon notes. Okay. Well, a balloon note from 4 years ago was maybe at 3%. Wall Street Journal Prime is now at 8.5 plus any type of margin, and their rate could triple.
Wow.
So there's going to be opportunities for those who have been waiting on the sidelines to buy some buildings coming up here in 2024. But everything is just continuing to change regroup from what they've been through the last 3 years.
Sure. Okay, we almost are out of time, so I want you to give final thoughts. If somebody's wanting to switch banks or give you guys a try, what's the process? They can just drop in.
They can just drop in, even though we're going through renovation. We're doing it in 2 phases. So we've already put a phase 2 and restructured so that customers can come in and visit with our customer service team, our personal bankers, our branch manager across the desk. Now, that being said, we are launching additional AI products this year that they can do everything digitally as well.
Nice.
Most people in our communities lack that personal touch. So they're going to want to come in if they can. But we've helped customers around the globe still execute, still take care of them and get their loans or their deposits. Right now, they really need to look and make sure they're getting a good yield on their deposit accounts. We have that as well. Being mindful of how to ladder those and be strategic about keeping your liquidity for what you might need to purchase in 2024.
Outstanding. You've been a great guest. We're going to end with the website, which is gpbankok.com, the great Janice Spooner. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.